My sister told my husband he deserved better, and she meant herself. My sister arrived at my house with 2 suitcases and swollen eyes, saying her ex-husband had ruined her life. She cried on my couch for an hour, shaking, saying she had nowhere to go and no one to help her. I didn't hesitate. She wasn't just my sister, she was the girl I defended in school, the one I stayed up with during her first heartbreak, the one I thought would always have my back the same way I had hers. So I told her to stay with us as long as she needed. I didn't even ask my husband, I knew he'd be fine with it. He'd always been polite, even kind, to her. The first few days, everything felt normal. She helped around the house, cooked dinner, folded laundry, played with our dog, made jokes. She seemed grateful, calmer, trying to rebuild her life. But then small things began changing, nothing big, just off. She started dressing up every day, even when she wasn't going anywhere. Makeup done, hair styled, perfume on before breakfast. I thought maybe it was part of her feeling better, regaining confidence. But then I noticed how she always timed it perfectly for when my husband got home from work. She'd bounce to the door before I could stand up. She'd say, "You work so hard, let me take your bag," and laugh in this soft, fluttery way she never used with me. He'd smile awkwardly, not knowing how to respond. I brushed it off as her trying to be nice, to feel useful. But one night, after I went to bed early with a headache, I woke up thirsty and walked to the kitchen quietly. I heard them talking in the living room. Not normal talking, whispering. My sister said, in this low voice I barely recognized, "She doesn't even appreciate you." My husband didn't answer right away. I heard him sigh, then say, "It's complicated." I stood in the hallway, frozen, trying to understand the tone, the closeness in their voices. But before I could hear more, I accidentally stepped on the dog's toy, and it squeaked loudly. Their whispering stopped immediately. Chairs shuffled. They said goodnight too quickly, too stiffly. And when they both walked past me in the hallway, they didn't look at each other. I stayed awake for hours wondering if I was overthinking it. I kept telling myself, she's hurting, she's vulnerable, she's just leaning on the people here. And him? I trusted him more than I trusted myself sometimes. I couldn't imagine him doing anything to risk our marriage. But the signs kept growing. She stopped sleeping in the guest room and started staying up late in the living room. My husband said he was working late, but he started coming home later and later. She stopped eating with me and waited for him. They shared inside jokes I didn't know the origin of. He started defending her in arguments that had nothing to do with her. One night, I walked into the kitchen and saw her leaning against the counter, laughing at something he said while he poured a glass of water. She touched his arm lightly, too lightly, like something she practiced. He didn't pull away. He didn't smile either, he just looked tired. Or guilty. Or torn. I asked her what they were talking about. She said, "Just life," in a voice way too bright and sweet for the situation. I looked at him. He looked down at his water. And something cold settled in the pit of my stomach. It wasn't until I found her phone buzzing under a blanket on the couch that everything started to unravel. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't looking for anything. Her phone buzzed nonstop, vibrating like it was going to fall off the cushion. I picked it up to bring it to her, and the screen lit up with a notification. A message preview. From my husband. It said, "We need to be careful. She's starting to notice." My heart stopped. Not slowed down, stopped. I stood there staring at the words, unable to breathe. Then another message appeared. "We can't talk tonight. She's home early." My hands went numb. My vision blurred. I couldn't even process the betrayal, it felt too big, too disgusting, too surreal to fit inside my body. I went upstairs to the bedroom and sat on the floor, shaking, reading the 2 sentences over and over until they didn't even feel like words anymore. Just sharp pieces of glass. I didn't confront them that day. I didn't trust myself not to scream or break something. Instead, I watched them. Really watched them. And that's when I saw it all clearly, the lingering glances, the unfinished sentences, the way they moved around each other like magnets afraid to touch but desperate to. 3 days later, I found the proof no one could deny. I came home early from work because my boss sent everyone home due to a power outage. When I walked into the house, it was silent, too silent. I walked upstairs, and my stomach already knew before my brain caught up. The bedroom door was almost closed, but not fully. I heard breathing. Not normal breathing. The kind of breathing that belongs to 2 people tangled in something they should never be tangled in. I pushed the door open. My husband shot up from the bed like he'd been struck. My sister scrambled for the blanket, pulling it over herself. He said, "Wait, it's not what you think." She said, "Please, just listen." They were both naked. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't say a single word. I stared at them, two people I loved in different ways, now fused together in the ugliest betrayal I'd ever seen. They both kept talking, making excuses, reaching for words like they could glue the moment back together. My sister said, "He needed someone to talk to." My husband said, "It only happened once." She said, "You abandoned him emotionally." He said, "I felt alone." Their voices blended into nonsense. A sick melody of lies and blame. I walked out of the room. Calmly. Quietly. I packed a bag. I walked past them while they were still panicking and reaching for clothes. My husband tried to grab my arm. I pulled it away without even looking at him. I left the house. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I wouldn't stay there another second. Hours later, he called me 32 times. She called 12. I turned off my phone. The next morning, he came to my friend's apartment, crying on the doorstep, begging me to talk. He told me they never planned to hurt me. He said it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, not real. Until I asked him, "Then why were you texting her about leaving with her?" He stopped crying instantly. Because yes, there was more. After I left the house, I went back the next day with police to retrieve my belongings. My sister had already packed her suitcases. She didn't even look ashamed. When she stepped outside, her phone slipped from the top of her bag and landed face up on the ground. There was a text from him. "Give me a few days and we'll leave. She won't handle it well if it happens suddenly." They weren't just cheating. They were planning to disappear together. Leave me behind like trash. I left with the police escort, shaking the whole time. I didn't speak to either of them again. I blocked their numbers. I filed for divorce. My sister moved into an apartment across town. As far as I know, they aren't together anymore. Betrayers rarely stay loyal to each other. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder how long they'd been planning it, how long they'd been whispering behind my back, how long they thought I'd just keep taking care of everything while they treated me like an obstacle to their fantasy. But mostly, I don't think about them at all. The pain faded. My life got bigger. Quieter. Softer. Better. I learned to trust myself again. I learned to breathe without feeling knives in my chest. I learned that sometimes the people you love most are the ones who rot you from the inside out, and losing them is the only way to live again.